Hi, I am Hannah Kirkpatrick. I'm also Mrs. Arizona American 2020 and a person in long-term recovery from alcoholism and addictive substances and behaviors. I am loud and proud about being a person in recovery because recovery has made every difference in my life. Recovery isn't a part of my life. Recovery is the foundation of my life. It has given me every relationship and every opportunity that I have currently, and I wouldn't be where I am or who I am today if not for the gift of recovery. So let me start from the beginning. I'll give you a real brief synopsis of what caused me to enter recovery, and then sort of what my life has been like since I have been in recovery. I'm coming up on 11 years now, which is amazing. On September 25th, 2009, I entered recovery, and my life has never been the same since then. So before then, growing up, I never felt like I fit in. I never quite felt like I was part of in any group. I never felt enough. And I came from a wonderful family. I came from this great middle-class upbringing with nice parents and no trauma. And still, I think I set the standards so high for myself along the way that I always felt like I fell short of them. And by doing that, and because I felt like I was failing all the time, I became self-destructive. And that manifested itself in a lot of different ways. Some of them drinking and drugging and, food issues and validation seeking from other people and over shopping and overspending. And there's just so many different ways that self-destruction can happen. The good news is that recovery can heal them all. And I didn't know that then, of course. I identified just as being a party girl. I went to a big party college, and that was sort of a cool thing back then. I didn't realize how much I was slowly destroying my life and destroying my relationships and destroying who I was on the inside. When I put a drink in me or fell down the rabbit hole of these compulsive behaviors, I saw that all of my standards for behavior went out the window. I could no longer control my behavior, and over time I started to feel the shame and the guilt of behaviors, and then I would drink or use to cover that shame. See, I never wanted to feel anything, and so I would either use to numb out, or I would use to kind of get a little bit high, right? Those substances or behaviors to get a little bit higher than normal, because I never really felt comfortable in my own skin. But over time, it eroded any sort of self or self-worth that I ever had. And recovery has given me a second chance at life. When I became sober and surrounded myself with people who were willing to rebuild me based upon principles that worked for them in their lives, they didn't preach at me. They just showed me what they had, and they had what I wanted. They had contentment, is what I was the most attracted to when I first got into recovery. I didn't think drinking was my problem. Everyone else was my problem. Life was my problem. And so I started to work on that, and what ended up happening, because I just became willing. I fired myself as the CEO of my own life. I looked objectively at the results that I had garnered from that, and they were abysmal. So I fired myself, and I hired recovery, essentially, people in programs to reteach me how to think, how to be, how to act, how to survive in the world, how to cope, how to deal with little things, even little things like opening mail, paying bills, budgeting, having friendships, being a good friend, how to be a good daughter, how to be a good spouse, how to live up to my commitments. Like all of these little details added up to rebuilding my identity. And now today, people can trust me. I live in honesty. I live in integrity. I live in service to others. And the relationships that I have with my husband and my kids and my extended family are incredible. I contribute to society now by sharing my story, because I never had an example growing up of someone who showed vulnerability, who exposed their pain and their struggles and the real things in life. I always felt like I sort of only saw the sugar-coated version. And ironically, even with the crown and the sash and the hair and the makeup and all of that, my role and my purpose feels like revealing all of it so that we can get honest. Because I've learned in recovery that connection is the opposite of addiction. That connection with other humans is the most important and the most powerful tool that we have. So only by getting vulnerable with you can we really connect on a level that matters. And the biggest impacts now, and I'll wrap up with this, the biggest impacts that recovery have had in my life are that now, instead of trying to achieve this bar of perfectionism, I try to focus instead on my input instead of the outcome, just on what is the next right thing that I can do to contribute or to serve. And the outcome takes care of itself. It's absolutely amazing. Most of all, I would say I now live in an attitude of gratitude, like for real, not just, writing it down, you're in my gratitude journal or doing this, self-helpy stuff. I really, truly feel a gratitude because of what I've gone through for everyone and everything that I have been given in my life. And recovery is the foundation of all of that. So if anyone is interested in what it might look like to become a sober person or to enter recovery, or they're a little scared and they want resources, Faces and Voices of Recovery is an amazing place to start. Find local recovery groups. We all know how to use the internet. It's all over the place. Just begin. And my life has been absolutely changed, and I can look at myself in the mirror now and love who I am today. And I'll tell you, I love you too. You are worth it. The struggle is real, but the outcome is incredible in recovery, and it's the greatest gift I've ever been given. I wish for it for anyone who needs it. So Godspeed on your journey, and I hope we connect soon.